Hi guys, so my name is Isha and today I'll be presenting information about how street food and food safety connects to globalization. Let's get started. So first I'm going to introduce street food. Basically we all know what street food is and it connects the world in so many ways and it is a great example of globalization. So first we're going to talk about the World Health Organization and street food. So this is basically a form of standardization. So the World Health Organization creates certain standards for street food vendors. Basically, their rules are that the water should be potable and drinkable. It should not be contaminated. Street vendors should wash their hands, be educated in food safety standards, and also not chew tobacco, wear clean clothing, and stop the business if anyone experiences fever or any symptoms of any foodborne illnesses. There's more rules that you can read about in the essential safety requirements for street vended foods, but these are just the main ones that we'll be talking about in this presentation. So the first place we're going to explore is Nigeria. Now, Nigeria has many pros and benefits that they have gained from selling street food. Benefits of street food include that major street food vendors actually earn more than the minimum wage. So it's a major benefit for Nigeria's economy. It's also cheaper to buy street food and it provides great nutrition for younger people. There's also a common misconception that most street vendors are male. However, in fact, there are more street vendors that are female, and these females also balance traditional roles at home. So these are all the street vendors who are in fact women. So there are many cons of street food in Nigeria. The main concern are basically the characteristics of the products sold. That is, are these products safe? There is a lack of surveillance of the food in Nigeria and how it is being cooked. This also applies to countries in South Africa in general. There's also poor local infrastructures. Some structures are unsafe to be around. There's also a major case for concern in a particular city in Nigeria called Abeokuta. The reason for the concern is that there's both raw and cooked items that are being sold, and also there's no one regulating these foods or these street food vendors and what they're doing and how they're handling the food. So, this is in a following article, they conducted a study in Nigeria, and these are the conclusions that they were able to draw from it. So the good news is that vendors are aware of foodborne illnesses. The bad news is that few vendors are aware of that food coloring, flavors, and spices can contaminate food. Also, handling food with hands can cause all these different diseases. And it was found that some of the vendors did not wash their hands at appropriate times, and some of them did not even wash their hands with soap. So there are many reasons for these types of issues to occur. First of all, washing facilities are not readily available in Nigeria. Also, no fresh water, and also the vendors don't use soap because they consider it an additional cost. So these are a lot of issues. And we also talked about acceleration in globalization and how different countries don't necessarily have access to the same things that other countries do. So good news is that there's been a lot of improvement. There were organizations like WHO and TCP that were able to get involved and actually improve it. So they provided education to the street vendors. They also provided more facilities for washing hands and as well as soap. They also provided training for the street vendors so that they knew about how to handle food and just the correct standards. So this was a major improvement in Nigeria to improve street food safety and make sure that the food is safer to eat. So this is a street food spotlight from Nigeria. This is also known as puff puff. It's Basically, it can be sweet and spicy, and it's a fried dish. So next we're going to talk about Latin America. So there are many pros and cons of street food in Latin America. Now, Latin America and South Africa have a lot of similarities. For example, they have it's helped their economy. So people in Latin America who sell street food benefit off of it. Also, the diversity of street food offered in Latin America is very immense. However, with this diversity also comes a lot of risk when it comes to food safety, because there are so many different types of food being sold, and we don't know how that food is being handled. So next, we're going to talk about high-risk foods and low-risk foods in Latin America. So as you can see from this list, most of these items are risky because they either include water, or they include meat, or like perishable items, basically. So for water, you don't know if that water is fresh. So that's why it can be more easily contaminated. Also for meat, sometimes the street vendors won't cook it at the right temperatures. This can also cause a lot of contamination, and it can be dangerous. Low risk foods include stews and sandwiches. Now these are low risk, but they can also be high risk, because if you could include meats in them, then it could possibly become risky and it could actually contaminate the food. So in reality, not all street foods are safe, and these are the list of items that may be prone to foodborne illnesses. So here we have another street food spotlight. This is pastel. Pastels are basically stuffed with all sorts of goods, and you can stuff anything into them, and there's just many different types. So now we're going to go on to Vietnam. So here's the history of street food in Vietnam. Basically, same kind of benefits. Most women are street vendors in Vietnam, just like the rest. So it's really interesting. We find like a similar pattern. Also, it also has a history with street food that's a bit different. So before 1986, all food stalls in Vietnam were state-owned. Also, street food stalls in Vietnam can be defined as a household enterprise. This means that households and families as a whole will run the street food business. There's also low quality of food that has increased over the years. So same kind of problem with street food safety is occurring in Vietnam. Street food is also known as common people's food, so it's very affordable and healthy to buy. So these are the different types of street vendors that you may find in Vietnam. So stationary vendors just sell in one spot. Residential vendors may sell in the local neighborhood, just make it at home. Ambulatory vendors will travel around and sell food. So this is a residential vendor, this is a stationary vendor, and this is an ambulatory vendor who is traveling by foot. So here's a street food spotlight. Here we have pho, which is basically a hot soup with noodles, and you can add all sorts of veggies in them. And this is one of my favorite dishes. It's just really hot and warm, and it makes you feel good during the winters. So, conclusions. Although different places have different cultures and foods, as you can see, many of their issues are the same. Many of the rules that apply to street food are the same across countries. And we should also learn from this that not all countries are uniform. Not all countries grow at the same pace. Not all countries have the same facilities. But this also shows how our world is more connected than ever, even though all of our foods are different. Thanks for watching, and I hope you have a nice day.